So if perhaps Philadelphia can be used as a test case or an example of, a non-traditional hub that kind of dealt with its brain drain issues, that kind of built up a community, has a lot more to go, but perhaps has had movement. Are there lessons that, if you were in another market abroad or in the country, that you'd want to share and make sure that those Philadelphia lessons should be offered?
Sure. I mean, I'm not sure that Philadelphia has any lessons that are so unique compared to every other ecosystem that's building, that's seeing an increase in the number of startups that are growing there. But I think that the first thing that's important is to realize that you're not trying to compete with Silicon Valley. You're just trying to build a strong, robust tech ecosystem and to encourage entrepreneurship in your region. So, Philadelphia has a very good Chinatown. I've been there, I've eaten there. It's there's some great restaurants. It's a robust and booming part of the city. But I don't think anyone in Chinatown thinks that their mission is to compete with China. And I think the same thing applies to tech hubs as well in Silicon Valley.
First round is obviously a big part of the story, building kind of developing a headquarters in University City in Philadelphia. It's a big part of this narrative. What is success for a non-traditional tech hub, for Philadelphia, for whatever other city? What are you working toward? What should be the goals kind of that you would see success measured by?
So First Round is a nationwide firm. We have offices in New York, we have offices in San Francisco, and we have offices here in Philadelphia. We measure success by, do we fund great entrepreneurs and help them to build great companies? Do our companies win? But in terms of how do you measure the success of an ecosystem? I think ecosystems don't get built by proclamation. I don't think tech hubs get built by edict or by any vote or by any sort of, I don't, even though I think that government could adopt policies that might improve the environment, I think that tech ecosystems get built by one thing: successful companies. And that it's not an accident that if you look at Silicon Valley, what the history of Silicon Valley is that a company grows and becomes successful, and its management team, its co-founders, after experiencing the success, they branch off and start their next company. It's kind of like, as Fred Wilson refers to it, the Darwinian theory of sort of forests, where one tree rises, plants deep roots, drops its seeds, and then the next batch of trees grow and grow. And you see that often. It's not an accident that the founders of YouTube and Yammer and Yelp and LinkedIn all worked at PayPal. It was sort of the second generation of those entrepreneurs. So when I look at what's important for any non-traditional tech hub, it would be whether the companies that are there today can grow big enough and be successful enough to plant so that they plant their seeds and that the next generation of companies grow beyond that.
Can you play that same game? And again, Philadelphia is an example of, walk us through the Philadelphia technology story from 30,000 feet up of, 90s, probably 80s supplementing into the 90s, the rise, .com scatters, and something grows again, and perhaps there's movement. Can you give us that 30,000 foot walkthrough, like how you saw it and were a part of it?
So when I look at Philadelphia, one of the real challenges has been the lack of continuity. There were some companies that were very successful during a short time period, during the Web 1.0 boom, for example. You had VerticalNet, you had Internet Capital Group. These companies were worth billions, tens of billions, just real. They Safeguard Scientific. They created some short-term real appreciation. It wasn't enduring, however. And I think the thing which set Philadelphia back was that it occurred in the middle of the dot-com crash, and that the entrepreneurs didn't try again. A lot of people sort of took their ball and went home, and that set us back for a while because you didn't have forests grow when trees plant their seeds and the next trees grow, but when a whole generation of trees gets wiped out, it took a long time for sort of new companies to come in. And I think over the last 4 or 5 years, we've really begun to see a resurgence, whether it's sort of grassroots led by like things like Philadelphia Startup Leader or Philly Tech Meetup, whether it is the rise of the accelerators and the incubators and the co-working space. And it's also just a cultural thing. The fact that, and we see this in ecosystems everywhere, the fact that entrepreneurship is being democratized, the barrier to start a company, the cost to start a company is coming way down. That you're seeing a whole new generation of entrepreneurs try. 7 years ago, if you wanted to build a mobile app, 8 years ago, if you wanted to build a mobile app, it cost $2 million. You had to build for 13 different handsets, and you had to spend 18 months negotiating with AT&T or Verizon as to whether they would take 50% of your revenue or 80% of your revenue. Today, you spend under $200. You're an Apple authorized developer, you're an Android authorized developer, and you could be on millions of phones, or at least in the App Store, available to millions of phones within weeks. And that really has removed so much friction to be a mobile entrepreneur. And you look at the benefits of platform as a service and SaaS and all the infrastructure that's out there, the ability for someone to just start to have an idea and to get it to market, there's never been a better time to be an entrepreneur anywhere.